Hello everyone. It's James again. And before I start today's video, I just want to quickly say, all work in this video contains 100% original content of and by myself James Smith, otherwise known as Bgood 4000, and was uniquely created with NAWMAL software, by myself James Smith. As I purchased commercial rights from NAWMAL to produce my unique and original video with this software. Commentary is uniquely my own thoughts, feelings, and expressions. Now that I have that out of the way, I do hope your day is going way better than fantastic. And your journey to self-betterment is going way better than fantastic as well. Today I wanted to talk about something very important. And it's very important for a reason. You see, the narcissist is like the little cousin to the psychopath. The psychopath oftentimes will act out in such a way that seems to lack impulse control. They oftentimes will be found in prison due to doing some horrible things to other people, let's just say. And then there are some, I believe, that try to rein in that impulse issue, so they can be a bit more calculated with what it is that they do. And it's right here where I believe the narcissist and the psychopath overlap. Because please believe and understand. The narcissist wants to abuse you in the worst way possible. And they want to even somehow either to delete you or have you delete yourself. All in such a way where in their minds, they hope they won't get into any kind of trouble. And this goes into narcissists doing horrible things to people their entire lives. But just not to the level of what we just talked about. But major things. Here's an example. I was watching one of the judge shows. I forget the name of the judge at this moment. But it was where a man was suing a woman to get his, I believe, grandmother's engagement ring back. He had given to a woman. Then he caught her cheating on him. And broke off the wedding arrangements. But this woman believed she knew the laws. So much so she repeated it in such a way to the judge, as if she had done this scam to other men out there before. Well, it turns out she had. It was a pattern she had been getting away with for many years, it seemed. I believe the man had made contact with one of her ex-boyfriends on Facebook or something. And she had done the same thing to him, just so she could walk away scot-free with these expensive engagement rings. Because in her words, the law says, blah blah and blah. Well, the judge said to the woman, "May I see the ring?" The guard accepted the ring from the woman and gave it to the judge. The judge said, "Wow. This is really a stunning ring." And handed it back to the guard. And instructed the guard to hand it to the man suing his ex. And said to him, "Sir, this is your ring." And then she began to tell this woman she was wise to her scam. But here is the problem. This is the type of individual. No matter it be man or woman or man. If they have gotten away with such a thing over and over again, and no one holds them responsible, this is the type of possible narcissist. Because who knows what this woman's problems were and are. But I will say, if you ran into such a person and the term narcissism or narcissist came to your mind, even if you were technically wrong, you would still be right enough, if that makes sense. They are evil, they are toxic. It's that simple. But if they don't get put into check, so to speak, their ego will grow and grow and grow. And somewhere in their mind they will think they can do the ultimate evil and have someone else take the blame. And they will be believed. You know, I've heard of people that grew up with narcissist parents. And were beaten for literally no reason as a kid. Which sadly happens a lot. But some narcissists won't directly do such a thing. My mother wasn't physically abusive at all. My ex was. But my mother wasn't. However, she got my golden child brother to despise me so much. When I was really small and unable to fight back, he would beat me something awful. And my mother would pretend to either not know what was going on, or she would tell others that we were both out of control. Or that I started it. Or whatever lie she could think of. Also she could get the supply from me being beaten. Without laying a hand on me at all. And to get the supply of being a so-called victim of her out-of-control kids. My mother, when we were extremely young, would tell us stories. Let's just say. Of horrible things in great detail that happened to her when she was little, walking home alone. Just use your imagination. I'm not going to repeat it. Then my mother would leave myself and my brother when we were little to walk alone and take the public bus everywhere we went. My mother never learned how to drive and she never wanted to learn. She would give me a couple of dollars to catch the bus to go here or there to get this or that. All at the age of 7 or 8 years old. All in a very bad neighborhood. And she did the same to my brother as well. And what was interesting, after my mother passed away, the one sibling she had out of many, that got out of their toxic home of origin when he was young, told me that he had never heard of such things happening to my mother when she was a child. He actually seemed quite confused. He knew my mother was strange. And lied a lot. And he said to me, "I don't want to call your mother a liar." But he probably would have heard of such a thing at least once in his home. But he never knew of such a thing. You see, one of the things narcissists' parents will do is share really inappropriate stories and information with their sons and daughters when they are at an age when they shouldn't be hearing such a thing. And in my case, my mother seemingly over and over put us in situations where such things she talked about could have happened to my brother and myself. Luckily God was with me and such things didn't happen. There were a few times looking back. However, there were some dicey people, I guess, lurking about. There were other times when I had to walk a stretch of road with lots of bushes and trees with no houses. Along the sidewalk, I would get a strange feeling something was off. And I would take a longer route that was more busy. Or I would literally walk in the middle of the street. Not on the sidewalk. That was next to the trees and bushes. I only got back on the sidewalk when I got near another set of houses. I also remember a time I walked to the store just to buy a piece of candy and look around. I was probably 7 years old. But when it got time to leave the store, I just couldn't leave. I was afraid something or someone was outside was going to grab me. So I went back to one of the aisles where there were some toys. And just looked at them. And then eventually just sat down. And I just sat there for about 5 hours. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I couldn't walk outside and walk that same route I had walked what seemed hundreds of times at the age of 7. Finally, a nice worker at the store, she came by. And she said, "Are you okay? You've been sitting here for a long time. Are you waiting for someone?" I said, "No. I'm too scared to walk home. I feel like someone out there is going to take me." She very nicely took my mother's number and called her. And she walked her way up to the store to walk me home. After being gone half of the day. Looking back on these situations, my mother was priming us for the worst to happen. So she could gain the supply from our pain. And for her gaining the supply that she set the stage for all of this to happen. And that no one was the wiser, she was the puppet master. Again, nothing happened. I remained safe. But when you hear of these stories of mothers letting their new boyfriend, or fathers letting their new girlfriend around their children, knowing full darn well they are dangerous people. Because in their narcissistic brain, they have gotten away with so much for so long. And have had other people take the blame for the things they have done. They think this will be no different. So they bring these terrible people around their kids on purpose to carry out the horrible things they don't want to get into trouble for. But when they get into trouble, they are almost shocked. Now, why am I thinking about all of this? I recently came across a news story. where a Greensburg, Pennsylvania woman is being charged in the self-deletion of her ex-boyfriend and the father of her child. The reason why they are charging her is because they have text messages of her apparently egging him on and telling him to delete himself. Now I have to say innocent until proven guilty. However, if it is true, this would fall into line with what we are talking about here. Narcissists and other toxic people. As they get away with all kinds of crazy stuff. They want to do more evil things. Bigger evil things. And though if you gave them a free pass to act and do what psychopaths do for a day, they would take it in a heartbeat. But they know. Wait a minute. They can get into big trouble. But in their mind, they think if they can get you to do it to yourself, or someone else to do it for them, then they are off the hook. They can pretend they cared all along, and cry when you're gone, and rewrite the story of your life and relationship. Together to all that will listen. This is why you have to get away from such people. They are extremely dangerous. Even if you would never. And I do hope you would never do such a thing to yourself. But these are the type to hire someone to do their bidding as well. Or they will put something in your tea or protein drink over time, thinking they will be slick. And their tears and fake sorrow and pain will cover their tracks. I've mentioned before, where my ex Susie, towards the end of our relationship, one day made a picture of juice and she drank none of it. It just sat and sat and sat. Well, one day, I looked at it and thought, nope, I'm not drinking that. So I poured it in the sink. And then, I looked at the juice container, and just threw it away. I was never interested in using it ever again. Now do I know she was trying to put something in my drink? No. No, I don't. But I wasn't about ready to find out either. You see, the more you accept their fake apologies, and believe it or not, they do apologize. And they only do it to stay in your life a little longer to gain more control. So you can't leave their abuse. That's when the apologies stop. Once they know they have you. So if you meet someone and they treat you poorly about something, or they start an argument for little to no reason, and then they say they are sorry and they just don't know why they do what they do. First off, the second part of this is actually true. They don't know why it is they do what they do. They don't know why they are evil and have no empathy and that you are loving and you do have empathy. They don't know why. But what they aren't telling you is they enjoy doing these evil things even if they don't know why they do what they do. But as far as their sorry goes, they just want to see if you are in their minds a sucker. And if you accept this apology for what they just did to you, they see it as a green light to lie and manipulate and treat you any way they want. And they will likely be so good to you after this fact. And maybe even for a year straight. And in this year, you might move in together. You might have a child. You might get married. And once these things happen, they feel you are trapped. And have nowhere to go. And that's when they drop their mask completely. They will openly cheat on you and say it's your fault. They will have you falsely removed from your home. And even out of your shared children's life. And the list goes on. But sometimes before this happens, they keep up the act. And will keep the relationship going. And the longer it goes, the more dangerous it is for you. But when you break up, it can be dangerous as well. You see, in different countries and in different parts of the world, narcissists, depending on if they are a man or woman, tend to be treated somewhat different by the legal system and within regards to family court, divorce court, child custody, so forth and so on. And we know that narcissists play to how society is, and what their strengths are. And if they know they aren't strong in a certain situation, they will ahead of time set you up to way before things end to look like the evil one instead of them. But with that being said, this is the real reason I believe why marriage is down in the West. And those of you both men and women that grew up with a narcissist mother will know that our narcissist mothers used the system to make it seem like our fathers were terrible, terrible people. They accused our fathers of things they didn't do. And they used us as pawns in the game. Now in other countries where it's the reverse, I'm pretty sure there are narcissist fathers running the same game. With that said, I'm sure many of you can say that went through this ugly process as a child. That the very system that was supposedly there to be for what is best for us, we quickly found out that system could care less about us. That system only seen us as a paycheck. And this is why decent people are scared to get married. Especially if they are in the West. Because they feel like they have no protection. And the system wants it that way because it's an easy slam dunk for them to make money off of the failures of others. And here's the thing. You think you have done the right things. You meet a nice church-going person. You have a family. But then Satan sends your way a narcissist disguised as a friend or helper. And they manipulate and they talk your loved one into leaving you for them. This very thing happened to God himself. Satan manipulated and lied to Eve to get her to buy into the fact he could offer her something way better than what God, the Almighty God, the one that created Satan and Eve, and the garden. And somehow Eve chose Satan. Look. If this news story is true. If this news story is true. This man had no protection. And the system quite possibly failed him like it has done to many. Again, there are some countries where men are believed first and always. And I'm sure the narcissist men are having a field day. But in the Western countries, it's the other way around. There is a saying here. A woman, even if she's on hard substances, the court will still try to find a way for her to remain custody over the child. Even if the father is showing to be a better parent. And those of us that grew up with a narcissist mother and we went through this process, know this is very true. And this is why so many are scared to get married. And this leaves a big room for narcissists and hookup culture to run amok. Satan has put his hands in marriage. And has ruined it. Just like he has the church. There are many that don't go to church anymore and stay at home and read their Bible. There are many that teach their children at home and refuse to send their children to a normal school. Why? Why? Look. When you put people in these spots with a narcissist, and feeling like you don't know what to do, and they have control over your children, all I can say is my heart goes out to them. My father did the best thing. He paid his money. Money I never seen. Because my mom got it and spent it. And he walked away. My mother tried to convince me that he didn't love me and didn't care. The truth was, she was accusing him of some horrible stuff. And was going to go forward if he tried to continue to fight for custody. So let's get this straight. You believe this guy did all of these horrible things to your kids. But you are only going to press forward if they fight for custody. But if they don't, and give you money, and walk away, you will forget all about it? Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? As I say this sarcastically. But the longer you stay and stick with a narcissist, the more you accept their fake apologies, the more of a chance you will end up in such a spot. And the societal narcissists know it. You see, they could fix things tomorrow. Make the system not a winner-take-all. And if there are any monies given, it goes into an account for the child's education and other things. None of it, and I do mean none of it, should be spent on the parent. None. None. I will say it again. None. One more time. None. I remember telling my mother after she spent my money on ridiculous stuff for herself. And I would say, there are important things I would love to do. Here I am as a child trying to talk to my mother about important stuff. And I said to her, that is my money you are spending. And my mother just looked at me and smiled and said, "Yes. But her name is on the check." And guess what? When I was of age and the money was gone, and wasn't prepared at all for life, she said, "You need to leave. You are going to mess things up for me." As she was trying to get on another assistance program for herself due to her educational problems and that she couldn't get a job as a result. So that was it. Leave. Done. Deuces. Your money is gone. And you need to leave. After all of the abuse and horrible treatment I went through. That's what I got. But again, my father was wise enough to walk away. I think the stress caused him to pass away when I was young. But if this story is true, if it is, will the system be corrected? Will they say, "Wait a minute here"? As default, if a split up happens, 50-50. Because here's the thing. Narcissists won't last very long when things are fair. If they aren't getting money, if they can't run their game, they will skip out on their time to be with the child. They will complain about basic costs to certain things. And they will avoid normal involvement when they are cleared to be involved as much as they would like. And it's stories like this that sadly, and I do say sadly, why decent, kind and loving people are walking away from marriage. And many of these people would love to be married. I would love to be married. It would be truly a blessing. And it's a blessing that if God wants to give me, I will be so happy. But we also have to trust our guts. And many people that have awakened, they can see. Besides the schools, the devil was able to get his hooks into marriage. Because he doesn't want your children and children's children to be born. He wants to stop God's line and God's word. So there is truly hell on earth. Because just like the narcissist in your life may want to bring someone else into your life to abuse you or cause you harm. Or they might want to end you by putting something directly into your tea or juice. Satan wants to end us all and our relationship with God if he can do it. And he does it through other people. Through lying and manipulation. And the reason why is because he believes you or the other people won't catch on. So if someone comes into your life and their mask slips and they are apologizing for mistreating you, thank them for the apology and make every excuse to never see this person ever again. Because if they are able to get you in a corner with nowhere to go, they are truly going to try to do some horrible, and I do mean horrible, things to you. Why? Because they want to see you gone. They want to see you gone. Well, this is a good place to stop, I believe. I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.